Hello again, folks. Now, today I wanted to go through some interesting little details from Joe Wilkes' statement to police. And the Alliance Police Department was so sweet as to provide me with their list of questions that they asked Joe. Now, of course, they didn't know that they were providing this shit to me, and for what? So I wanted to go through some of this because the discrepancies that I'm finding between these two documents is really interesting. And again, I'll put a link down below to my Facebook fan page where I'll upload the copies of these documents. So I may not do it immediately, but I will add the documentation here in a little bit. Now, to get started, and yes, probably later on today, I'll be talking about the whole Manitowoc, latest bullshit with this hit and run of a 17-year-old prior to Teresa Halbach's death, years before. I'll talk about that as well in another video, probably later on today. But I wanted to get this done because I think it's really important that we start looking more in depth at the David Thorne case, because this, at least Manitowoc attempted, they made a half-ass attempt to make this shit look legit. Alliance PD didn't even do that. And then once I started reading through the trial transcripts and I watched some of the trial video that I was able to find online, I really got pissed off, especially at this fucking lead prosecutor, Krissa Hartnett. Ugh, she's a real fucking piece of work. She's a judge now. She's a judge. How the fuck did that happen? Apparently, whiny, spoiled brats who throw tantrums in the middle of the fucking courtroom is considered acceptable behavior for a judge for the highest office in our courts. Fantastic. So apparently, the voters of Alliance, Ohio have about as much standards as her husband does, which is to say none at all. But anyways, so I wanted to go through this because this is a really good illustration of the Reid technique gone horribly wrong. So let's get started. This is a list of questions drawn up by one of the detectives. And it's dated July 14th, 1999. This is 3 months after the murder. And get this shit. Okay, here he's got, when did Dave Thorne first approach you about killing Yvonne Lane? That's like his fourth question. Kids, the Reid technique is very specific. It says to guide your witness, your subject. It says to guide them. It doesn't say fucking flat out lead the witness. If that shit's not allowable in a court of law, it's not allowable in a goddamn police station. Because let me tell you something, kids. The reason why it's not allowed in a court of law is because it produces unreliable evidence. And the Reid technique does allow for a certain amount of lying to the person that's being questioned, but it does not allow, this is blatant misuse of the Reid technique. If you go, I'll put a link down below for the whole Reid technique breakdown. It'll tell you everything you need to know. And it's fucking disturbing how much this goes against those guidelines. What did he say, offer, or promise you, Joe? See, they use that whole, saying your name thing because they're trying to establish a bond with you. They're trying to, I'm your friend. I'm here for you without overtly saying it so that they aren't held in contempt. He then asks, why did he want Lane killed? How long have you known Amy Davis, who was David Thorne's girlfriend at the time of the murder? I say it like that because Amy Davis was running around at the time that Yvonne Lane was murdered, telling everybody that David Thorne and she were engaged. But that's not actually true. Amy Davis had her grandmother's engagement ring, and she was wearing it and telling people they were engaged. They weren't actually engaged. Psycho. It then goes on with Did Amy Davis have any part in planning Yvonne Lane's murder with Thorne? Now, what I find interesting about that question, kids, is why are you wondering about Amy Davis? What do you guys know about Amy that none of us know? Oh, that's right. That she asked David Thorne's sister if the sister knew how much a hitman costs. Or actually, I believe her exact phrasing was, do you know how much it costs to have someone bumped off? Seriously, she actually asked that of somebody. Oh my God. Okay. Next question is, just prior to the murder, did Thorne give you specific instructions on how to kill? Details or planning? You're leading the shit out of this kid, you fucking prick. Did you ever live with Yvonne Lane? Now, see, there's a very good reason for that question. Joe Wilkes was something of a drifter. He did what I call couch surfing. He lived with various friends and just sort of bounced from friend to friend to friend as he wore out his welcome. And the reason for this is that he's a piece of shit and nobody wanted him. He couldn't hold a job to save his fucking life. He had an adoptive family who booted his ass out because they got sick of his shit. And here's the really big thing about Joe Wilkes that Alliance PD seemed to forget. About a year prior to Yvonne Lane's murder, Joe Wilkes and David Thorne were hanging out, with some buddies in a parking lot, and a rumble started between them and somebody else. Okay, another group of people. David Thorne takes off running after one of the guys that is running away. He comes back to find one of the rival people's car window broken. Joe Wilkes had broken it, but then later, upon questioning, he pinned it on David and said David did it. And to this day, he will admit it sometimes, but to this day, he will say that David fucking did it. Great choice for a star witness, Alliance. Just saying. Somebody who had already lied about David Thorne, and that's who you go for? Somebody who's easily impeachable and would have been impeached had David Thorne's fucking lead defense attorney not been a goddamn alcoholic who showed up to fucking court drunk, but we'll get into that later. Further, going through the questioning here. On March 31st, what time did Thorne pick you up? See, they're not giving him room to tell them his version of events. They're leading him through their version of events. There's a very big difference here, kids. By the way, Alma, cheers. Tell me about going to the Carnation Mall and Comfort Inn. When and where did you buy the baseball gloves? When did that fucking come into anything? How much money did Thorne give you for the hotel and gloves? What about the knife? Did you tell the Enochs that you were cleaning a garage for David's grandfather? How much money did David Thorne give you to give? I'm sorry. How much money did David Thorne give you to kill Yvonne Lane? After the murder, did Summer take you shopping? Where did you purchase the knife? And then this one's interesting on this page here because it's crossed out. See, I love looking for little inconsistencies like that because why'd you cross it out? Huh? What was your thought process there? Did his narrative take you in a direction that you weren't prepared for? Maybe, possibly, huh? Describe the moments just before the murder. This is where it gets really interesting. Where did you cut Yvonne Lane? Describe what transpired. What did she do when you cut her? What do you mean, what did she do? She fucking bled to death, you idiot. In the last interview, get this, kids, those first few words right there, in the last interview. But this, which is the official report of this interview, talks like it's the first time they ever spoke to Joe. Really? Interesting. In the last interview, you said Yvonne spoke to you after you cut her throat. What did she say? You simple son of a bitch. There's no way Yvonne was able to say shit after Joe cut her throat. He cut her throat. Her fucking voice box, her vocal cords were severed. You schmuck. Are you sure she spoke to you? You knew. You knew you were fucking wrong. And you kept trying to guide him. You fucking slimy dog shit. Oh my God. Did you call Dave Thorne on the morning of April 1st of 1999? What time? Couldn't phone records prove that? When did you and Dave make plans to pick you up? What did you and Dave talk about after he picked you up? These are very interesting questions. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link to my Facebook fan page after I upload these, where I will upload these so you guys can take a look. And I want you to compare and contrast these questions with what is said in this report. Now, what I find interesting is that there's no transcriptions of like the actual audio or videotape anywhere in the official record of the investigation. That's fucking suspect right there all by itself. But get this shit, okay? On 7/14 of 99, which if you will notice is the date at the top of this document, Detective Leach, Detective Mucklow, and I, along with Detective Cooper from Ravenna PD, responded to 645 Hazen Street, Apartment 1, in an attempt to locate Joseph Wilkes. Why 4 detectives? Why'd you need 4? Huh? Joe Wilkes was a skinny little motherfucker. He had issues with the law, but why did you need 4 fucking detectives to go pick up this kid for a routine questioning? Setting up the intimidation factor from the get-go, boys? Now we're going to skip ahead a little bit. 12:51 hours, and this is Detective Sampson who prepared this report. He's another fuckhead. I provided Wilkes with a statement of Miranda rights form, and I read the form to him. Why? Now, kids, I don't know if any of you know this, but typically you are only read your Miranda rights when you are under arrest. Now, that may vary from state to state, but I know that here in New Mexico, where I live, and I'm getting my education, that the police are only going to read you your Miranda rights if you are under arrest or you are a person of interest in an investigation. So why are you reading him his Miranda rights? Sampson? Huh? And you didn't explain to him that he wasn't under arrest. You just read him his Miranda rights. You fucking piece of shit. A taped interview with Wilkes was started. Really, where's the transcription? Where's the transcripts of this interview? I want to see the transcripts. Wilkes was read the statement of Miranda rights for a second time. And you know why they did that, kids? It's so that in court, they could state that his confession was voluntary and that he was fully advised of his rights. Minor problem. Joe Wilkes has a low fucking IQ, roughly about 70. Like Brendan Dassey, and he was 18 years old at this time. He had no parental supervision, and he had no attorney present. When you are read your Miranda rights, you, at that point, should have them emphasize, if you want an attorney present, you should really just, have us call one for you now. But of course they didn't do that, because that would have fucked up their ability to cover up their bullshit. Wilkes again stated that he understood his rights and agreed to give a full statement. Wilkes started off by saying that he has known Thorne for approximately 4 years. Thorne trains Wilkes in shoot fighting. Now, for those of you that don't know what shoot fighting was the precursor to the UFC, to MMA, that sort of thing. So here's the problem, though. Wilkes will say that to anybody who will fucking listen. But David Thorne never actually trained him in shoot fighting. I think Thorne took him to like one of his shoot fighting classes once, and that was it. After that, Wilkes went around telling everybody that David was his shoot fighting trainer, when in reality, he never actually taught him jack shit. And you see this in kids that are troubled, are disturbed. You'll see behavior like this. They lie a lot, especially about stuff like this, because they're trying to give themselves a personality or a unique marker. You know, something to make people think they're a badass, but it's generally not true. And it's not true here either. Wilkes stated that Thorne has always talked to him about how he wished Yvonne Lane was out of his life and that he wanted custody of his little boy. Well, gee, that's interesting considering that Thorne continued an on and off sort of relationship with Yvonne Lane since they initially dated 2 years prior and had continued to see her personally even after he was dating Amy Davis, which gives Ms. Davis motive, doesn't it, kids? Yes, it does. All right. And the funny thing is that only people that the cops got to say this, that David wanted Yvonne out of his life. Everybody else that knew them, that weren't talked to by the police, say that they got along great. The fuck is going on there? Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. I hear my son in his room. And he's playing, but at the same time, it's like, oh, is he okay? So I'm sorry if you can hear this on the audio. I apologize. You all know I'm a mom. Wilkes went on to say that one day he lost everything and he didn't care about life anymore. Yeah, he lost everything because his family booted him out of the fucking house because they got tired of his shit. So if he lost everything, it was his own damn fault. Wilkes stated that Thorne knew how he was feeling and asked him if he wanted to make his life better. Wilkes said that Thorne told him he could make his life better by paying him to do something for Thorne. Get this shit, kids. Thorne promised Wilkes that he would get him out of Ohio and he would have a better life to live on. $300? Because that's what the prosecution says that David Thorne paid Joe Wilkes to kill Yvonne Lane was $300. You're going to get Joe Wilkes out of Ohio and give him a better life on $300? What fucking low-ass standards are you dealing with here, Joe? Jesus. Wilkes said that he didn't care about life or anything except Thorne at that time and told Thorne he would do it. Wilkes said that Thorne approached him about 1 month prior to him killing Lane on April 1st of 1999. Funny, if Joe said that he killed Yvonne Lane on April 1st, then why did the coroner put down the time of death at 7 p.m. on March 31st? Inconsistencies, kids. It's all about the inconsistencies. What did I say in the Stephen Avery case? That any one or two or even a small handful of these inconsistencies by themselves would not be that big of a deal and probably were just honest human error. But when you take this gigantic ass load of inconsistencies and errors all together and you look at the bigger picture, when it's that many fuck ups, it bespeaks of bullshit. And that's what we have here. Wilkes stated that Thorne picked him up one morning and took him to the Carnation Mall / Comfort Inn. Thorne then gave Wilkes some money to go and buy a pair of baseball batting gloves and a knife. Wilkes stated that he and Thorne then rode around all day, and Thorne told him how to kill Lane. Funny, because Thorne was at work all day. All day. All day. He has an alibi for that day. So Joe Wilkes, his statement once again proves bullshit. When asked to describe what he did, Wilkes said, "We were sitting on the couch talking, and as he demonstrated, he states that Yvonne Lane was sitting here, he was sitting here, and he reached up, grabbed her hair, pulled her head back, and slit her throat like this." But that's not possible. First of all, that's really awkward. Nobody would fucking cut somebody's throat like that. But get this. "We were sitting on the couch talking. I reached over, grabbed her hair, and cut her throat. She tried to run out the door, the big glass door that slides. She turned around and asked me why. I told her David wanted me to, and she fell to the floor. I walked over by her and said I never did it, and I walked out and ran. I threw the knife in a side street gutter. I went back and sat up all night at the motel." Okay, then how'd she get to the final spot she was found in? Nothing about her, nothing about him running into her dresser and tipping it over on her. Nothing about her crawling back into the living room. Nothing. Not a fucking word. Because they knew it was bullshit. Wilkes stated that Thorne paid him $300, $100 for the room, $200 for new shoes and clothes. Where's the better life then? Huh? Where he gave him money for the equipment with which to commit the murder, but what about payment for the better life? And kids, you have to remember, this statement was given in July of 1999, 3 months after the murder happened. That's plenty of time to get Wilkes out of town, pay him, and tell him to fuck right off. So where's the money? Where was his incentive to commit this murder if all he got from David Thorne was $300 for equipment with which to commit the crime? Wilkes stated that Thorne picked him up on April 1st, 1999, unknown time. Really, Joe? Unknown? You didn't know? Morning, close to lunch, afternoon, evening? When? Unknown time, my ass, you lying sack of shit. They left the mall in Thorne's red Chevrolet Cavalier and went westbound on West State Street, and they went the back roads to Atwater. Well, funny, because the police went all through David Thorne's car, didn't find shit. No evidence that Joe was in the car, nothing. Ever. Come on. Thorne told Wilkes to put his clothes in a bag and just hold on to them. Well, that's sloppy as shit. Why would you say that? A murder was just committed. You wouldn't take the clothes from him and go dispose of them? Come on. Wilkes later gave the bag to Thorne for disposal. Why later? Why not just wait 5 minutes while he went inside to change his clothes? Hello? Wilkes stated that he did not give Thorne the pants he was wearing. Why not, Joe? Why didn't you give him the pants you were wearing? You gave him what? The shirt? Because according to this, it says he said that he took them off at a friend's house in Ravenna and threw them in the woods. Great disposal technique, Joe. When asked about his tennis shoes, Wilkes said he can't remember what he did with them. Okay, so he didn't give the shoes to Thorne, so what was in the fucking bag? A shirt? When asked about the gloves, Wilkes said that he threw them away in a dumpster at McDonald's near Lane's house. So you didn't give him clothes in a bag, you gave him a shirt. Anybody else smell the distinct stench of bullshit? Wilkes stated that prior to checking out at the motel, he called Thorne's house from a payphone in the Carnation Mall. Okay, fine. Where's the phone records that bear that out? Wilkes stated that he would be able to show us where the pants and the knife were located. Bullshit. You told him where you found his knife. His knife. Yeah, whatever. The knife that they claim that Joe used to commit this murder would not be able to commit this murder because it had some serration on about half of the blade. There's no serration anywhere on Yvonne Lane's wound. None. It's a clean cut. Bullshit. Both items will be sent to Stark County Crime Lab for testing. Here's the thing, though, kids. They found the pants, which, by the way, is the entire reason why the Ohio Innocence Project will not help David Thorne, is they found the pants. But here's the thing, kids. No blood was found on those pants. None. It is impossible to commit this kind of murder without getting blood all over you. I can't stand Mickey Mouse operations. Okay, kids, so now that we've gone through these, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and upload these to my Facebook fan page. So once that's done, I'll come back and put the link down below in the description so you can take a look. I want you to compare and contrast these two. And if anybody is from Ohio and you know the law regarding the whole reading of Miranda rights when you're just giving a statement, please let me know if I'm wrong in my assessment of that. I don't like giving out misinformation, but according to what I know, that's not normal. So at any rate, I will also leave in the description the link to David Thorne's rally fund to help pay for his defense expenses. And don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Mama Phoenix 6. And if you boogie on over to the About page here on my channel, you'll find everything from my blog to my Facebook fan page to my Pinterest boards. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you soon.